Today, the link between society and technology is inseparable, impacting every generation of the 21st century. But how has the rapid pace of the digital world affected our children and teens? And how much is too much when it comes to technology? I'm Brenda Kamal. This is Our Issues, Twin Cities.
I've seen my kids fly through levels already this year. It's amazing.
At Bruce Vento Elementary School on the east side of St. Paul, students are eager for another day of learning, tech style.
They come in the morning, they eat their breakfast, and then they get on the iPads.
Last year, St. Paul became the largest district in the state to supply nearly 40,000 students with iPads. A $9 million a year technology levy program leased by Apple that began in 2014. Miss Schroeder dove right into the innovative program as a first-year teacher. When you first heard that you're going to be teaching in a classroom with all iPads, what were your first thoughts?
I was excited. When I heard we were getting them this year, I started looking at what exactly I could use them for. I was the one saying, like, can we do it for this? Can I get these apps? How can I continue to incorporate it more and more and more? And ultimately it's for the students.
For Bruce Vento Elementary, this is the first year all students have iPads at their desks. With an array of apps to choose from, students use their iPads for math, reading, skill sets, and spelling, to name a few. How have they responded to it so far?
They think it's so much fun because they're games. They're games, but they teach them things.
For Robert, his favorite part of having an iPad in the classroom are the games. Games like Iggy Words and Splash Math. Do you miss just picking up a book, or do you like having like the iPad?
iPad.
The iPad, you prefer that? Mm-hmm. Do you think it's taken away from traditional learning at all?
I guess I think learning's always changing, just like teaching's always changing, and kids are always changing. So the kids change, so we need to teach them differently. So I guess if it's moved away from paper pencil, yeah. Okay. But I don't think it's hurting them by any means. I think it's something that is really geared toward the kids nowadays, and it's geared to how they learn.
How have they benefited the students?
They are engaged all the time. They are always excited to do it. It's not, like I said, it doesn't feel like learning to them, but they are, because when I sit there and test them, we do math tests, and they had been working with an app that works with the information, they go from having beginning scores to being proficient.
Before the program was implemented, teachers received training on how to use the iPad in the classroom in order to implement the techy new device in their curriculum. How have iPads really changed teaching and learning in the classroom?
It really makes it more student-centered, and it makes it so that the students control what they're doing a little bit more. So it's student choice. I say, here's 3 apps that teach the same thing, you pick which one is exciting for you. And then that gives me a chance to my students who are struggling with basic addition. Well, I can pull you for basic addition while everybody else is working on coins, or I can pull you for basic addition when they're all doing something else, and that helps to really teach them where they're at. And so then those kids who are farther, they can be listening to a lesson that is at their pace, they're covering more content, they are able to work independently, which they love, and then they just meet with me for stuff that's like up and beyond.
Technology plays a huge role in society. Not only is the advancement of technology found in our classrooms today, but it's a part of our everyday life, engaging people of all ages. With a simple swipe, babies and toddlers are the new tech experts.
28% of babies in this country under 2 have televisions in their bedrooms. So, a third of 3-year-olds go online daily.
Dr. Erin Welsh has spent the last decade exploring how the advancement of digital media has changed and shaped our world today.
Nowadays, babies are coming out of the womb as iPad experts. How have cell phones and iPads really affected our toddlers and children?
Youngest among us are no strangers to technology. And I think, again, for a long time, the American Academy of Pediatrics has recommended no screen time under 2, 1 hour of entertainment media in the preschool years. I think because heavy, excessive media use in the early years isn't associated with great outcomes, partially because of what children aren't doing then. So it's not necessarily that a really benign baby TV show is bad per se, but what we know is that children learn in the context of relationships, of talking, of play, of reading, and those things are best, human to human, caregiver to child. And so the question, we aren't coming to an age where we can plug a kid in and they learn how to read. They still learn how to read from us by talking, singing. So the question really is, what aren't little children getting? So I think the reality is that we know that most parents aren't having no screen time under 2. So the American Academy of Pediatrics just announced that they might be modifying some of their recommendations. And so then, really thinking about if children learn through play, let's make sure that technology is creative and open-ended and not just a series of electronic worksheets that, 2-year-olds are doing day in and day out.
Children today encounter and utilize technology both at home and in school.
How much is too much
when it comes to technology?
I think technology, whether it's through an app or a great TV show, there are some beautiful stories being told that our kids can benefit from. Do they need to be sitting there for hours on end? Probably not. I think it's less about thinking of technology as toxic and more about thinking about how do you bring it back into balance. So choosing age-appropriate media, making sure that there's still plenty of time for caregiver-child interaction, for play, for open-ended imaginative play.
As the machine is continuously taking over, are we losing ourselves in technology?
It's really a mixed bag. I think we certainly see some people for whom technology is replacing many things in their lives. So they'd rather, play video games or be online than eat or then interact with one another or sleep. And those are certainly red flags that, anytime something is dominating your life, that's something that we need to pay really close attention to. I think for others, it's a big part, but maybe not the only part of their life.
When we return, one of America's oldest institutions staying up to date with the digital world. Libraries were created 5,000 years ago with collections of clay tablets and scroll containing data.
The library is as important as ever.
But is one of the oldest institutions becoming a thing of the past? With the rapid pace of technology these days, do you think libraries are in threat of extinction?
I see a bright future for libraries, but in the 80s, people were concerned about that as well. But we find that library use is actually increasing, but the way people are using libraries is changing. And also the needs of our community are changing, and we need to keep working to stay relevant and really meet the needs of our patrons and the community. So expanded access to technology and other resources, but our core services, I think, are still very much in need, but we're enhancing what we offer the community in terms of technology access.
To keep up with the quick advancement of technology today, the Minneapolis Hennepin County Library introduced the Best Buy Teen Tech Center in 2013. Today, it's becoming a digital hub with access to computers, iPads, video equipment, and a soundproof recording studio.
We feel it's really important that young people have opportunities to both access and opportunities to use, experiment, and tinker with powerful technology and tools.
Erin manages the Techie Center.
Are libraries becoming a community tech hub these days?
I think the libraries have always provided access to those important resources, and since technology is so critical to success in the 21st century, I do think we fill that critical role, especially for those that don't have access elsewhere or don't have opportunities elsewhere. So the library, we have 41 libraries in Hennepin County, all of which provide access to the internet and technology, not to mention all of our collections and skilled library staff to help guide and facilitate that. But a space like this goes beyond just providing access, but also opportunities to create and make things and learn in the process of designing things.
So how has the center really been beneficial for the teens?
Well, it's been, that's one of the most rewarding parts of my job, is just seeing how young people have embraced this space as theirs and have kind of leveled up in their abilities to both learn new things and build confidence in themselves and their ability to express themselves with technology.
If you can see right here, the little hole right here, now I'll get closer. This is supposed to represent axles. My idea was to actually be able to push it and the wheels would turn.
15-year-old member Christopher is a tech whiz.
With technology being so important these days, how vital is a center like this for a teenager like you?
Most of these days you'll see teenagers outside in the streets doing a lot of stuff. For example, weed and other stuff like that, which I honestly don't like. I feel like a place like this, gives them something else to do. It's a distraction. Instead of them being outside doing stuff that won't help them in the future, stuff like this could help. Like this right here would help with designing. That helps with the music department.
We have a lot of people here that come in and just blossom.
Carl says the most rewarding part of being a mentor is watching the teens excel at what they love.
How important is a teen tech center like this for teenagers, especially these days?
I think these days it's more and more important. At the very least is a kind of a secure, fairly quiet, relatively under control place to come, do some things, try to be creative, and then again we're trying to twist on that so that as their tenure here ends, when they get out of high school or at age 19, what can they do with what they have done here and maybe leverage that and move forward a little bit.
And although nowadays libraries provide more than just computers with internet access, librarians say there will always be books.
So how important is it to preserve the importance of the library?
Yeah, I think the library is as important as ever in terms of a community gathering space, in terms of free and open access to information, in terms of just social justice and equity. I think that one of the reasons why what's so fulfilling looking at what young people do here is, for a lot of people who come to the library, a lot of young people that come to the library don't have tools like this at home or opportunities like this. And for them to compete and be successful in college and career and life, they need opportunities to tinker with this stuff and build skills with it. And in a space like this after school, we can really extend the learning day and help them grow.
Up next on Our Issues Twin Cities, the importance of scaling down on technology. The major transformation of technology throughout the years has been a game changer for humans in today's world.
How has the advancement of digital technology over the decade affected today's society?
Certainly the biggest lifestyle change in the last generation is the amount of sheer time that not just children but adults alike are spending with screens. So, the average American school-age child, 8 to 18-year-old in this country, spends 53 hours a week with entertainment media, so that's not media for schoolwork, it's just for fun. And so that, certainly as we think about how it's changed society, just the sheer amount of time we spend in front of screens, interacting with other people, using technology is changing everything. I mean, we refer to this as the digital revolution for a reason.
Perhaps one of the most problematic sides of today's digital age is losing our social skills.
How has technology really affected our human-to-human interactions?
That's the biggest question that I get in my work. I work with mostly teachers, youth-serving professionals, parents, and the biggest question they have is, if we're spending all of our time with our screens in front of our faces or texting instead of interacting face to face, what does that mean? You know, I think like many things when we think about the relationship between technology and its impact on us humans, it's really a mixed bag. So we've said for a long time, technology aren't inherently good or bad, they're powerful. And the good or bad depend upon how we use them. So in many cases we see young people, for example, staying more connected with friends or extending friendships that they have in real life from the soccer team. They're coming home and they're texting with those same friends and they're sort of deepening and extending the same relationships. I think when we have some initial evidence that if technology is starting to crowd out face-to-face time and is becoming the sole means with which young people connect with one another, that doesn't make them feel as good, that we see a decrease in sort of feelings of social efficacy or feeling like you can be a good friend and make good friends, or feelings of self-esteem and sort of social worth. It's not necessarily, the story isn't that technology is bad, but us human beings do need to interact with one another. And especially as we're growing up, kids are learning how to do this messy, complex, incredible thing that we call building human relationships. And they only do that through practice. And so that doesn't mean that there's not a place for technology in their lives, but it can't crowd out the real thing.
Ms. Schroeder says that although today's education is continuously changing through tech, traditional teachings are still very much a part of the classroom.
How are you making sure that your students don't lose themselves in technology and preserve their social skills?
I make sure that we do shut the iPads off and they still interact. We do morning meeting every day, which is tech-free. We sit around the carpet, we talk about what's going on each day. We still have that explicit teacher-student interaction. Like, we greet everybody and we take that time really to talk. And our reading mini lessons are still whole group, so they can still interact with one another. And we always have, lunch and gym and outside, or our preps and outside at the structured play where they interact with one another. And really with the iPads too, we partner up and there's games they can play in groups or with partners, and that makes them work together in that sense too. So they're still building relationships even if they have an iPad in front of them. They're still learning to work together, which I think is a huge important thing, that kids learn how to work with one another in different ways.
And the concern extends to toddlers as they are becoming the new tech experts.
The things you want to watch out for are patterns. And so, the idea of an iPad pacifier, if every time your child gets frustrated, they're pacified with, well, here's an iPad, and that quiets them down. Every once in a while, is that a big deal? No. But one of the things that we know children are busy doing in the early years are learning how to handle big feelings and how to be frustrated and work through that and, regulate their own big feelings and emotions. And so if every time they experience frustration, that's quieted through a digital device, that's a pattern we want to watch out for. We want to give them the practice of knowing that they can get frustrated and settle themselves down. Does that mean that there's never a role for iPads in the car in order to get on a family road trip? Or, I think it's about what are the patterns. I do think still the model of 1 to 2 hours a day is a good, for entertainment media, is a good sort of gauge for where we're at. And so, if you do a media baseline and you track your screen time and you're up at the 50, 60 hours a week, it's probably time to think about it. When is it on? When no one's watching, when we can just turn it off? And how can we bring it back into something a little bit more reasonable?
And this goes for everyone. As we continue to immerse ourselves in a tech-addictive society, it's essential to unplug.
How do we find that balance?
Yeah, I think it's about having conversations. I think it's about carving out time for reflection. The easy thing to do is to just take out your phone, right? The default action anytime we sit down. I think if we can find what are those sacred spaces in our day where we're gonna unplug, even if it's, just the hour before breakfast or meal times, where we can have some time to reflect on what we want this relationship with technology to be like. And again, not because it's throw all the tech out the window, but I think in order to take true advantage of the benefits, we have to really have some time to reflect on how do we use technology, how do we make sure technology isn't using us.
It's not to say technology doesn't have its positives. It's provided people with new opportunities in a world where creativity comes with a new definition.
One of the reasons why what's so fulfilling looking at what young people do here is You know, for a lot of people who come to the library, a lot of young people that come to the library don't have tools like this at home or opportunities like this. And for them to compete and be successful in college and career and life, they need opportunities to tinker with this stuff and build skills with it. In a space like this after school, we can really extend the learning day and help them grow as learners.
As we continue to dive deeper into the avatar world, it's safe to say technology will continue to be an essential component of our everyday life.
How do you think the advancement of technology in the future is going to continuously change our society and our interactions?
You know, it's a great question. On one hand, you can see a road where we're just going to get deeper, more deeply and deeply immersed. You know, if you think about living in a world where we all have Google Glass, and you know, even my 4-year-old goes up to a TV and starts trying to swipe because he thinks everything is a touch screen. So in some ways, it's hard to imagine how immersed we'll be. I think also we've invented technology and now we're trying to catch up with how do we want to use it. And so I think that there are some really thoughtful conversations happening about, you know, how do we make sure that we take advantage of the incredible opportunities without it crowding out our humanity or the things that we know make us feel really good. On one hand, maybe we're going to turn into robots, and on the other hand, maybe we have 50 screens in front of us, but we've developed some norms to hopefully help us find some balance.
Thank you for joining me this week on Our Issues Twin Cities. I'm Brenda Kamal. See you next time.